Hooliganism back in English football's top division. West Ham and Chelsea have condemned the behaviour of supporters after clashes between both sets of fans overshadowed the Hammers' 2-1 victory over Chelsea in the EFL Cup fourth round last night. West Ham says it will impose life bans on anyone found to have been causing trouble. Let's get more on this from our sports news correspondent Richard Conway, who was at the game. Now, there was an increased police presence. There was an alcohol ban. So what happened inside?
It was a very tense atmosphere, big London derby, Victoria. West Ham were winning 2-0. There was a lot of goading, a lot of chanting, a lot of taunting of Chelsea supporters. That spilled over towards the last 5 minutes of the game, although hearing from fans this morning, they're saying that objects were being thrown back and forward between supporters throughout the game. But certainly towards the last 5 minutes of the match, that's where tempers flared. One of the Chelsea fans got into the segregated zone in between the two fans. It's marked with tarpaulin, sort of climbed onto there, taunted the fans directly, came back, then a seat was ripped up, thrown into the Chelsea section, more objects being thrown back and forward, and then at the concourse at the top of the stand, that's where the two sets of supporters surged together. They were held back only by a line of stewards and a very flimsy fence. Riot police came into the stadium at that point, a number of them. They quelled the disturbance. The final whistle was then blown, I think, thankfully for the stadium operators, and the fans started to disperse. But very ugly scenes, nonetheless. And you spoke to some fans, didn't you? Yeah, on the way out, the Chelsea fans were given a police cordon, a police escort back to the station. We caught up with some of them, and they told us that they'd been hit by coins. Let's have a listen.
Okay, well, we're watching the game. We're in the front row, near to the home fans. Suddenly, there's a whole load of coins coming over. My daughter, Victoria, got hit by 7 coins all over her body. Stewards didn't seem to do much at all. They just let it carry on. Other kids were hit in the front, and it was a disabled section. Not really anyone who were first to run.
Who do you know who was throwing the coins?
It was the West Ham fans. You could clearly see them throwing them.
But we couldn't see really who was throwing them, but like
individually.
But like they'll
that crowd.
Yeah. And are you okay? Are you all right?
No.
Yeah. But you got hit with the coins?
Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a bit scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I got out of the game now and it's finished.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing we should point out is with Chelsea season ticket holders, Vicky's been going since she's 2. She's never experienced violence like this before, or the aggression that we've had to suffer. We've never been hit by coins before. To be hit by 7 of them in one evening, that's why we've kept them, because we want to take this matter further.
Yeah, and in your opinion, Paul, they were just the stewards and police weren't reacting to that.
They might be acting. They should have dragged the whole crowd back from the side, dealt with them. But all they did was just let it carry on. It's absolutely disgusting. You know, for a little girl, 8 years old, to be hit by this number of coins, and other children were hit as well. It's not just my daughter.
There were kids next to us, and they were all hit.
They were hit as well.
They were hit as well.
OK, well, she's a brave little girl, isn't she? But upsetting. I mean, you know, of course families go to football. We know that. I don't understand how one set of fans can get across a segregated area, I mean, tarpaulin, netting, whatever it is, to you know, get near to the other set of fans. This is one of the criticisms that people have had of the new stadium. Now, West Ham don't control the stewarding themselves. It's operated by a separate company, LS185. They're the stadium operators. They're in charge of stewarding matters. And there has been criticism of the stewarding because prior to West Ham moving in to the stadium, the stewards there had to deal with concerts, with rugby union, with athletics, and not perhaps the volatile nature of football crowds. Now, stewarding, it was ramped up last night. There were 1,000 in there. Some of the stewards that were at West Ham's old ground at Upton Park were brought in and put into areas where the operators believed would be hotspots last night, but nevertheless that didn't prevent those scenes taking place. I have tweeted the chairman of West Ham, David Gold, this morning to see if he'll come on the programme. I haven't had a reply yet. They have already said they will impose life bans on anyone found to have caught up in the trouble. How do they identify them? West Ham say they have a very sophisticated CCTV system in place. It's high definition. They've already banned 23 people from coming to West Ham games this season already. Last night, in order to go to the game, you had to have a previous purchase history with the club, so you couldn't just walk up to the gate and buy a ticket.
West Ham say using the CCTV, they are hoping to identify those involved, and they say they'll hand out life bans again if they can identify those who took part in the trouble.
OK, thank you very much, Richard. Thank you. Richard Conway is our sports news correspondent. Let's talk to West Ham supporter Sean Whetstone. He was at the game and he saw the trouble at close hand. He's a blogger at the website claretonhue.info. Hi, Sean, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
What did you see?
So I was probably about 20 feet away from the troubles. I mean, obviously, it'd been highly publicised in the media. There was a lot of police. There was helicopters over the top. But up until probably 5 minutes before the end of the game, it was quite good-natured. You know, there was normal banter, away fans singing at West Ham fans and vice versa. But what happened that I saw is about 5 minutes before full time, Chelsea fans started to leave. They obviously knew they'd lost the game. They were 2-0 down. And coins started to come over from the Chelsea end. I was hit by 2 coins. I think I picked up about 6 or 7 coins around me, about a pound's worth, 5p's and 10p's and 20p's, 50p's. And that sort to initiate some retaliation from West Ham fans, which is wrong, by the way. Everybody does deserve a ban that threw anything. So plastic bottles were thrown, programmes, scarves, and obviously coins. A few seats, I saw probably 2 or 3 seats thrown. And of course, you've been reporting that segregation was broken. My understanding is from witnessing it and talking to the club and stadium operators this morning, the segregation wasn't broken. There's netting of 13 seats between the 2 sets of fans. And although they tried to get to each other, no one actually got. Chelsea fans didn't get in the West Ham end, and West Ham didn't get in the Chelsea end. One Chelsea fan did walk halfway across. You've seen the pictures. He was then taken back. But I understand there was no actual fighting in the stadium. Obviously, these pictures have flashed all around the world, which is very unfortunate. But there's 2 sides to every story.
Of course, absolutely, Sean, absolutely get that. And let's say again, it's a minority of supporters and all the caveats that we put on this, but is this a return of hooliganism to English football's top flight? Well,
I don't think so. I mean, I was around in the 80s on the terraces at Upton Park, or the bowling ground as we call it. There was a lot more trouble in those days. People were being stabbed, people were being seriously hurt, and some were even died in some of the fighting in there. We're not talking about return on there. In reality, there's always been a small minority that are intent on trouble in all football clubs, by the way, not just West Ham. Unfortunately, I think people are coming to the new stadium because it was the Olympic Stadium, because it's iconic, and they want to come and prove a point and get some bragging rights. As you say, small minority. There were over 46,000 people there last night. I would say less than 100 were involved in throwing things, probably a lot less than 100. There were 7 arrests, I believe, outside the stadium. So what's happening at the moment is the media are really focusing on the London Stadium, as it's called now. The trouble does happen at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, but it's not reported. On the first game of the season at Stamford Bridge, when West Ham played them, there was trouble there. There was trouble between West Ham and Chelsea fans, but it wasn't reported because it happens every season. And this kind of trouble is happening, but the media attention is on the London Stadium. And of course, we're seeing it probably all around the world on every back page and on every news report.
Thanks very much, Sean. Thank you. Sean Whetstone, who's a West Ham supporter. She is a 31-year-old PE teacher.